Hi, my name is Mahmood and in this video I'm going to demonstrate how to use Spring.io Quick Start Guide. So if I open this Spring.io Quick Start Guide, I can see this page here with some basics, how to initialize your first Spring Boot project. So basically what I'm interested in this part of this building a RESTful web service. If I click here, then you will see that you have this a first guide on how to create your first RESTful web service. For this you need to build this. It's saying that what you build says you have to build some URL, for example localhost 8080 and greeting. If you go to this, then it will simply print this hello world message, and if you pass a name argument parameter with some arbitrary values here, for example user, so it will simply print this user here, hello user. And there are some requirements for this project that's estimations, like you need 15 minutes, you need an IDE Java version 17, and you need either a Gradle or Maven build tool, and then your favorite IDE, VS Code, IntelliJ or Eclipse. I'm using Eclipse for this reason, and yeah. Now there are a couple of ways to do this, like either you go to their GitHub repository and download their initial or the final, the complete or initial. Like the initial will be, your code will be available as a boilerplate in all the structures. You just have to add a little bit more code so that you can be able to create your first REST endpoint. Otherwise, you can also have the possibility to download the complete project, running project, that you can simply test whether it's working or not, or just get an idea of what this project is basically doing. Now either you should go to this start.spring.io to create your first Spring Boot project as a Maven project, or you simply start creating right away in your IDE. So in this tutorial I'm using Eclipse, so I'm going to create this thing inside my Eclipse. So first of all I'm going to Eclipse, and I'm just clicking new, and from the other I'm going to select Spring Boot and then Spring Boot starter. So this basically also like calling the same URL, and there you can fill all the required inputs regarding your project, and this will automatically call this URL and fill that particular form, and then do the stuff like loading, creating boilerplates and loading project files inside your Eclipse environment. So here I'm choosing Maven, packaging type jar, Java version 17, language using Java. There I'm just using this group. For example, I'm just changing this group to, oh, let's say maybe let's keep it simple, or maybe I'm just giving it my name, and then this is like a group ID. In the artifact I'm just keeping the REST service and something like the group ID same, and the package should be REST service. I'm clicking next, and I'm just only including this web, Spring Web dependency, so that I can be able to create some RESTful service, and I'm simply clicking finish. Now it will take a while, and then it will create some boilerplate of our code. So on the left you can see in this package explorer that the package is already created, and I have this source main Java. There I have this com.example my package, and there I can see this main file. So here basically you can see that I have this artifact, then a group ID that's combinedly make it a package name, and then there are a couple of libraries that are already by default imported in my project, and I have a public class REST service application. So if you notice that I created this with all small case, so it took the first letter and make it a capital, and then add application at the end of it. That's how camel case kind of, or that's how you define classes with the starting with the capital letter. Then you have a main method, public static void main method, which basically calling Spring Boot application and calling the run method, and in the run method you are passing basically this class name with along with their arguments. So that's all right. Next we wanted to follow this guideline here. So for example, this create a resource representation class. So here if you can see, there's here at this point it says that we need a Java record class for ID and content. So what is basically a record? A record is basically, if we see here, for example, this Java language update record classes. So it's basically a shorthand of creating that huge content. So for example, if you create record rectangle and passing to variables of type double, then it will assume that you are creating these by default. So you are basically defining two final variables of type double. You are defining a constructor and setting these values that are passed by argument, and then setting as internally that are defined here. Then you have some get methods, like if you call the length method, it will basically return this length here, and similarly if you call the width method, then it will simply call return this width. So that's kind of thing is the record class doing basically. So again, if I go back to here and I simply click new, and then here you can see this record thing here, and this record thing here you could simply give it a name, greeting.java. Alright, now you have public record greeting, and there you simply pass long ID and string content. For now you just leave this field empty, and then if you quickly peek into again into this tutorial, then in the next step it says that you have to create a resource controller. So again, in the Spring's approach to building RESTful web services, HTTP requests are handled by a controller. These components are identified by a REST controller annotation, and greetings controller shown in the following listings from source main Java com example REST service greetings controller. So on this path, so we are already inside this source main path. There we have to create a controller of type of this name, and then we have to add following code. So jumping back into the Eclipse, and here we can see if we can able to do we have a controller. If not, we simply class we have only a class, we don't have a controller class, so we just simply go with the class, and then where we give it a name, greeting controller, and we are basically doing like this. So there we should include as they are described in the, we are defining private static final string template, and the template should be hello %s something like this, and then we also have another private final atomic long counter, and this is basically new atomic long type object of atomic long type, and we are assigning after this we are creating public greeting, and there we are passing a request param with value, or we are defining basically the name of the param that we wanted to pass through the URI, and we also give it a default value equals to world. So let's see if I can able to no. Okay, once this is done, there we simply, in the body of this method, we are simply return new greeting counter dot. Okay, for now I'm not knowing anything because this counter object is not this atomic long object is not imported. So for this I just need to control shift and O, and then it will basically, what was the command, control shift O, 0 imported. Okay, so it is making problem with this. I think I made a mistake here because these two things here. So for now I'm trying to import these counter, but it's like says is making complaint that this is not exist because of this. So atomic C and long. Okay, yeah, that's the problem, like I just missed this and when I press control shift and O, it will basically automatically import that particular library where I can have a to look this thing here. Okay, again I have another error that says that somehow. Okay, for now just give it, so return new greeting, and there we simply give counter dot increment and get, and then the string dot format, and then we pass a template, and in the null we pass the name value, which we are basically transferring through the URI, and we give this notation to get mapping, and we are mapping it to address greeting. So whenever we localhost and go to this address, then we are able to invoke this method. And on top of this we are annotating this that this is a REST controller class, and again you can see this, the red line here, it's because that this REST controller are unknown at this stage. What you need to do is to again control + and O. It will basically load this library, and then now you are good to go. So now we have some other problems. It says here, for example, syntax error, insert test to complete class body. Okay, so here I think we already have this. Something is missing in our class. So we have basically a greeting class opened, and then REST controller public static final string template equals to hello, something like this. Is missing part, it's not a big deal. We have also adding semicolon, atomic long. This is also private final atomic long counter equals to new atomic counter. What if we have any quick fix? Then we have get mapping and greeting class. Then we have public greeting, and then we have request param value equals to name. I don't know if this resolved this error, but not. Default value is hello world. There, for example, they are removing. Okay, after hello world I have to give it to a string name, because this is not going to be identified. Okay, so then after name I'm just going to close it, and yes. Okay, so in the new return new greeting counter dot increment comma string dot format and template minus name. Let's see what kind of error we are getting here. The constructor greeting long string is undefined. One quick fix: create a constructor greeting long string. Okay, because I did not save the file, and that's why it was creating problem. Okay, and now I don't have any problem here. See, this is also very important. If you run into problems something like this, then you need to understand some sort of methodology, how you would approach a particular problem and solve it right away. So I think now we have everything set, and if we run this program, for example, I click here, and now again I'm seeing some other problems. So if I'm, for example, here, I think, yeah, so now I'm running, like I'm coming to this main file, and then I just press this play button here, and then it simply started the application. And if I go back to my browser, and there so by default the server is started like localhost and 8080. So on the root we didn't define anything, but if we go to this greeting thing, then we can see this hello world. So by default is hello world, but if we pass a param like name, and I'm giving it to my name, then you can see that it's representing returning my name, hello world. So in conclusion, we follow this tutorial to create your first REST service, and we successfully created our endpoint called greeting, where we are basically passing a request param. If you don't provide a param, by default it will take a world, like hello world, classic example. Otherwise, if whatever you pass through the name variable as a URL parameter, it will simply pass it to the function that you just wrote and return it onto the screen. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you like this video, consider liking it, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'm always open for your suggestions for the new videos, and if you did not understand anything, then please also share your views in the comment section below. I will try to answer them as much as possible. Until then, thank you once again, and see you next time. Bye bye.